Hey there books, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you some of the books that I have on my May TBR. I can't talk about all of them because I'm judging the booktuber prize. I'm judging the quarterfinals round, and so I have 6 books that are on my May TBR that I can't tell you about yet. Well, that's not true, 5, because I've already read one of them. There are 6, I read one, so I have 5 left, and I have 4 of them right here, and I can't show you what they are. So just know that there are 5 books on my TBR that I can't mention right now. But I have other books because I'm going to be participating in the hashtag AsianReadathon. I'm going to link the Google Docs for the AsianReadathon in the description box down below, so you can go check it out for yourself. If you haven't heard about the hashtag AsianReadathon before, go ahead, check it out. I recommend it. I love books by Asian authors. I love books by Korean authors. Han Kang is an author who I want to read everything that she's ever written. If she's written a supermarket list, I feel like it's gonna be different and I want to read it. And one of the prompts, one of the challenges for the Asian Readathon is to not use 2 books from the same country to participate in 2 different challenges. So the idea is that you're going to be reading books from multiple countries that represent Asia. And so I have a few books someplace. I have a few books that are on my TBR just in general that I'm going to be trying to get to in May just because of the Asian Readathon, even though I don't think I'm necessarily going for the challenges that are specified in the Asian Readathon. Like, one of the challenges is to read a group book, which I don't have and I'm not that interested in. Another challenge is to read a manga. I have never read a manga. Maybe in May I'll stop by my library and pick up a manga just so that I can experience it, but I don't have one on my TBR now and I don't even know what to choose. I might ask someone for a recommendation for that. If you read manga regularly and you have a recommendation for someone who has never read manga, don't even really know what manga is, if you have a recommendation that you think would be the best introduction to manga for me, then please leave me that comment down below. So here are the other books that I have. I have these 3 books out from the library and I'll just show them to you because they're the ones that I have right here. So I have The Strays by Emily Bitto that was recommended to me to participate in hashtag Aussie April. I didn't get around to this. I only read my 4 Aussie books. I didn't have time for a 5th. I read the synopsis to you when I did my library haul. It's about a girl, she's an only child, and when she starts going to this new school, she meets these 3 sisters and she starts kind of adopting herself into their family, spends a lot of time in their house. And so I'm going to try to read this in May. The Strays by Emily Bitto. I also have The Falconer by Dana Zapnik. Someone recommended this to me and I'm trying to read some of the books that people have recommended, and this one came in from the library. So here's a synopsis. New York, 1993. 17-year-old Lucy Adler, a street-smart, trash-talking baller, is often the only girl on the public courts. Lucy's inner life is a contradiction. She's by turns quixotic, I like that word, and cynical, insecure, and self-possessed. Despite herself, she's in unrequited love with her best friend and pickup teammate Percy, scion of a prominent New York family who insists he wishes to resist his upper-crust fate. So is this football, basketball? Pickup games, trash talking baller. It says in the back that the author does something with Arena Football League, but baller to me in New York especially means basketball. So I don't know. We're gonna have some sports in this one. A deeply affecting tale of a young woman coming of age in a man's world. So it was blurred by Salman Rushdie, which, you know, he wrote one of my favorite novels, Midnight's Children. So I'm going to be reading that in May. That's the plan. And then the other book that I got from the library was The Last Romantics by Tara Conklin. Here is a synopsis. When the renowned poet Fiona Skinner is asked about the inspiration behind her iconic work, The Love Poem, she tells her audience a story about her family and the betrayal that reverberates through time. It begins in a big yellow house with a funeral, an iron poker, and a brief variation forever known as The Pause. A free and feral summer in a middle-class Connecticut town. Caught between the predictable life they once led and an uncertain future that stretches before them, the Skinner siblings, fierce Renee, sensitive Carolyn, golden boy Joe, and watchful Fiona, emerge from the pause staunchly loyal and deeply connected. 2 decades later, the siblings find themselves again confronted with a family crisis that tests the strength of this bond and forces them to question the life choices they've made and to ask what exactly they're willing to do for love. It says at the top, the greatest works of poetry are the stories we tell about ourselves. Someone recommended this to me, again, can't remember who, but I'm intrigued. I like books about writers, so a book about a poet I don't think I've read recently, so I hope to get to that one in May. These 4 are arcs that I have that my reviews are due in May, so I'm gonna have to be reading them pretty soon. The Printed Letter Bookshop by Catherine Ray. This one is about a woman who inherits a bookshop from her aunt, and she's a little resistant to the idea of the bookshop, even though it's a part of her own history. And she intends to sell the shop, but of course something happens. Kind of sounds like that movie that starred Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks. So we'll see. Then I have Brief Chronicles of Another Stupid Heartbreak by Adi Al-Said. This one is about a girl who's about to break up with her boyfriend because they're about to go to college, and she sees another couple who've decided to stay together during the summer until they start college. And so it seems like she starts to appropriate their life for her own writing, and I'm looking forward to that one. Then we have How We Disappeared by Jing Jing Lee, which is set in Singapore, so hashtag AsianReadathon, looking forward to that one. And this is about the night women, the comfort women that were visited during World War II. Set in Singapore in 1942, 17-year-old Wang Di is carried off to a Japanese military brothel where she's forced into sexual slavery. And in year 2000, a boy is hearing this story from his grandmother, and somehow those 2 lives are going to be talked about. So I think this one gives us alternating perspectives as we weave back and forth through the timelines. And then finally, The Overdue Life of Amy Byler by Kelly Harms. This one, I just love this cover. And the synopsis of this one is about an overworked single mom who her ex-husband has given her the opportunity. He's going to take the kids for the summer, and so now she could go to New York City and spend the summer there, having the single experience that she never had, I think, before she had kids. And so yeah, I love books that are set in New York City, so I'm looking forward to this one. So those are the 4 arcs that I'm hoping to get to in May. I also have 2 other books that I have out from the library that are Asian authors. If You Leave Me by Crystal Hannah Kim. I can't believe I still have this book out from the library. I need to read this one pretty soon. This one is set in Korea. This is Communist Army from the north invades this village, and 16-year-old Jaime Lee, along with her widowed mother and ailing brother, are forced to flee to a refugee camp along the coast. Now, for a few hours each night, she escapes her family's makeshift home and tragic circumstances with her childhood friend, Kyung-won. Focused on finishing school, Kyung-won doesn't realize his older and wealthier cousin, Jisoo, has his sights set on the beautiful and spirited Jaime and is determined to marry her before joining the fight. If You Leave Me by Crystal Hannah Kim. I've heard really good things about this novel and I've wanted to get to it, but somehow this 400-page novel I haven't been able to read yet. But now I'm gonna definitely try for a hashtag Asian Readathon. Then I have Girls Burn Brighter by Shoba Rao. I've gotten this book from the library a couple of times because at first I wanted to read it because it had been nominated as a contender for the BookTube prize, and then I had to return it and I got it again, and I think I might have gotten it a second time, and this is the third. But in any case, the author is Indian, and so hashtag Asian Readathon. And this is a debut novel set in India and America about the extraordinary bond between 2 girls driven apart by circumstances but relentless in their search for each other. And so we have Purnima and Savitha. They're poor, they're ambitious, and they're girls. And after her mother's death, Purnima has very little in her life. She's left to care for her siblings until her father can find her a suitable husband. When Savitha enters their household, Purnima is intrigued by the joyful, independent-minded girl. Suddenly, their Indian village doesn't feel quite so claustrophobic, and Purnima begins to imagine a life beyond arranged marriage. Don't want to read anything else about this one. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it before I need to return to the library. And then This is a book that I just got recently. It's an ARC, it's not an ARC. I got it from the publisher to review, but it's a finished copy. And it's a Pride and Prejudice retelling set in Pakistan. Another debut novel. And it's about, of course, Pride and Prejudice, Jane Austen, Mr. Darcy. In this one, we have a young girl who is, her family has lost their fortune, and so she's deemed unsuitable for marriage because arranged marriages. And she's been teaching schoolgirls English and teaching them about Jane Austen, who's her personal literary hero. And somehow she and her sisters get invited to a wedding, and there she has an encounter with a man named Mr. Darcy, Indian spelling Darcy. So I'd like to get to this one. I don't know if I can, but I'd like to add this to my May TBR. Just another country for my Asian readathon. I also got this book from the library, My Sister the Serial Killer by Oyinkan Brathwaite. This book has been nominated for a bunch of prizes and it's gotten a lot of hype. And I'm surprised at how small this is. It's really small. But I don't know, I want to read it. It says it's a darkly comic hand grenade of a novel about a Nigerian woman whose younger sister has a very inconvenient habit of killing her boyfriends. I feel like if you've been on BookTube or Instagram or any social media platform really for a while, you know about this book, so I don't have to read anything else of the synopsis to tell you about it. So I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to know anything else about it. I've really been consciously avoiding reviews and full discussions about this book because I want to just experience it. I've heard so many things and I want to see it for myself. And so this is a little over 200 pages. Nigerian writer Oyinkan Brathwaite. I'm looking forward to that. And then I have a buddy read that I'm going to be doing with one of my subscribers, Patrice Jones. Hi, Patrice. Patrice approached me to do a buddy read of this one. I talked about this one in a book haul recently. My friend Tara, hi Tara, she sends me gifts. She sent me this book that she had that she wasn't going to read, and it's the story of Edgar Sawtelle by David Roblowski, and it's a huge book. I felt like I needed to discuss this with someone while I'm reading it, so 560 pages, I think it is. It's separated into parts. We've decided we're going to read a part. I don't know how many parts there are. This one is about a boy named Edgar Sawtelle who's mute, and he's growing up on a farm in Wisconsin. His father's brother moves in. His father's brother's name is Claude, and not long after, Edgar's father dies, and Edgar suspects that Claude has something to do with the father's death. And so I think this book is the story of Edgar Sawtelle finding out about his father's life and death. So we'll have to see when we read it. Then there are a few books that I started in April and didn't finish and need to continue. I've been reading East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I was reading this because Krista from Books and Jams hosts a read-along on Goodreads, and every month there's a book. I started off reading with the group and I fell behind. So they've finished, I think, most of them, and I'm just not far into the book. So I'm going to be continuing with this one and hopefully still be able to have discussions with the group. I also have 5 previous Man Booker winners that I want to read in May. One of those is the Runwright Reads book club pick, which is Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey. I don't own any of these books yet. I've reserved them from the library, haven't gotten them yet. So I already know I'm going to be behind on that schedule, but here are the books that I want to read in May. Hotel du Lac by Anita Bruckner, The Bone People by Carrie Holm, which is a huge book, The Old Devils by Kingsley Amis, Moon Tiger by Penelope Lively, and Oscar and Lucinda by Peter Carey. So those 5 Booker Prize winning novels are on my May TBR as well. So all of these, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to read all of these books unless I don't do anything else in May except lie in bed and read, and that's not my plan. So we'll have to see how this shakes out. But Ambitious TBR, as always, give me a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe if you haven't already, so that you can see how this works out. I also post recap videos at the end of the month or in the beginning of the next month to give you a little look back at my TBR video and how I did with the reading plans that I set for myself. So look out for that video from my April TBR revisit coming soon, probably in the next day or so. And let's talk in the comments. Let me know how you did with your April TBR. And what's the book that's on your May TBR that you think is going to be the most challenging for you? The most challenging book for me, I don't think is going to be my biggest book, just because my biggest book is a buddy read. And Patrice, I feel like she's going to keep me honest. She's going to keep me to the schedule. So I feel like this is going to probably be the easiest book for me to read in May. The hardest book I think for me to read is going to be, well, books. Going to be the Booker books, because I don't have them yet. And it might take a while for me to get them. And then I'm just going to be bogged down with the other books, because these books that I need to read for the BookTube prize, I need to submit my ballot by the 3rd week in May, which means that the first couple of weeks I need to just focus on finishing that reading so I can rate the books. I have those 5 books that I need to prioritize, plus I have the 4 books that I need to review, and those reviews are already scheduled. So I have 9 books that I need to prioritize, plus my buddy read that Patrice is going to make sure that I read. So those 10 books are probably going to be my highest priority. So if at the end of the month I only read 10 books, which is not a only, I mean, reading 10 books is a lot. But if at the end of the month I've only read 10 books, it will be those books. So give me a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's talk in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let's continue talking, and until next time, happy reading.